second. We'll let some folks get in here. It's been about a week. I think it's been a week. Been a week?
I don't know.
I think it's been a week. I think we were live last Tuesday. It's been a few days. Get a few folks in here. We're going to try to go through this. This is a little different episode than what we were planning. I actually had to go back and set all this back up again. I was going to do a simple mining OS walkthrough cradle to grave, both with nVidia and AMD. We are going to move that episode probably a few days. We have a normal game night on Wednesday nights. I bring the whole team through, and we kind of have a little bit of R&R in the evening and just talk crypto and play some games and all that stuff. So that's usually Wednesday night. So Thursday night, right now, notionally, we'll have the simple mining walkthrough. They've made a lot of changes in simple mining, so I want to walk people through on how to set it up from cradle to grave. If you're just getting into mining, if you just discovered the channel and you're looking for an OS to use, we'll go through that in the next episode. This one kind of jumped ahead because it was just like almost too good to be true type of thing, to where like 19 cards working in Windows, like what? So a couple big updates just came out, and I think it was a culmination of a couple things that people have said that was going to come out. Windows was going to do an update. They just did the fall creative update, and then you had AMD release a kind of ninja release a driver last night that opened up their graphics driver that's for Windows past, you know, the 8 graphics cards. We'll bring that up real quick while we're talking, and I think it was on kind of, let's see here, scene 1. I've got the focus off of the Stream Deck here. Let me get the focus back on that. Yeah, let me get to that AMD thing. Well, I guess I was talking to you guys on the little screen. That's okay. We'll come back to that. So this Crimson update is part of the reason why tonight we're able to do this. Between the fall creator update and this update here, if you look right here at the bottom of this driver update that just came out for AMD, 17.10.2. This just came out yesterday, like last night. And this right here is where we're talking. Let's see here. I think I scrolled down too far. There's an update here, right here. Using 12 GPUs for compatible workloads. That was their way of acknowledging but not acknowledging crypto mining, where they're now supporting at least 12 GPUs. We may test that tonight. But that's kind of the big kind of critical update. I think I don't have the camera positioned right tonight. So that's the big kind of update. That allowed at least the Windows, here I'm going to go back to this. That allowed Windows to get to this. So you got 11 RX 470s, and then these are the P106s, the nVidia cards, the 8 that are required for the Asus 250 mining expert motherboard. So just a real quick, we'll come back over here. So the motherboard, as most people that are pretty familiar, and I thought I had it right here to show you. I got so many of them laying around, but not right here. So the Asus 250 mining expert motherboard is this one. That's the 19 card GPU. It's been pretty much limited right now to 8 and 8. We showed that last week. Flip this around. We showed that in a live stream last week, just showing the 16 cards, but now, you know, AMD goes and does this driver, and the fall creative update comes out and allows the 19 total in there. So what we're going to do is kind of show you guys it functioning. We'll go through how, because this wasn't just a matter of installing the driver and then it just working. I had to do a few things. I want to walk you guys through that if you have this board, and then we'll kind of get into, if you're going to get into mining, do you actually go this route or do you go another route? And we'll kind of get into that, because I'm going to be probably leading you through not doing this elaborate of a build, and if you're going to do like 18 cards to kind of separate across 3 rigs. And I'll give you the rationale behind that. But I'm going to go inside with the community. I went back and forth with folks on Bitcoin Talk, and agree with them that, you know, this kind of setup is kind of just it's cool that you can do it, but you know, if this machine goes down, you got all these cards that go down with it. So, you know, if you're going to get into mining at least 3 cards, it might be advantageous to go 3 of these boards if they're the same price, and then, you know, go in, you know, 6 cards, 6 cards, 6 cards, maybe a 7th card in the last one. But we'll get into that here in a second. Let's show you guys this thing running. And we got the chat up there. I don't know how that looks. Might have to, it's kind of small.
Full screen, you can see it.
When it's full screen.
But that's kind of most all of your text on your screen.
Well, I can't. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can go in and change this setting thing here. The one thing I will say with this is it's not really stable. Like, it works, and I will let it run earlier. I just shut it down. It's good for mining, but the second you start getting kind of out of the mining thing, this thing just goes kind of flaky on you. And it's kind of slow, so we'll give it that, you know, detail too. This setup that we have here is what we've been using the last few weeks on this build here. And you see it's a i3 7300 or 7350K. That's the 4.2 gigahertz i3. We did that just for the speed part of it, and it's got 8 gigs of RAM. I've tried it both with 8 and 4 gigs of memory. I do have the 4 gigs sitting over there too. And it's got a solid state, 120 gigs solid state in it. You do see with the creative update the 11 GPUs there. It does not show the P106s in this list because they're in TCC mode. You have to put them in WDDM mode using the nVidia SMI tool. If we have time tonight, I'll take you guys through that in our video on the P106s. We did cover that in the mining card video. That's like 8 minutes. I show you guys how to get out of the TCC mode. If you put it in Windows mode, you will see those nVidia mining cards in this list. When they're in TCC mode, they do not show up in the Windows Fall Creative Update list here. Otherwise, you would see all 19 there. But I'm trying to get into settings, and it's just not rendering. That's part of the update, part of the issue right now with these. We'll come back to that here in a second. I was trying to get the screen big enough for you guys, but this thing is like, I would call it a strong beta on this driver. It allows it to work. We'll kind of go through this real quick, let you guys show it work. We'll try it with Ubik and Ethereum. This is gonna get loud, so I'm gonna try to talk over it. This is mainly due to we're really pushing the, well, not pushing it too hard, but we're definitely gonna be pushing the 2400 watt power supply here. It's the China power supply. Right there you see the 11 AMD cards coming in, and then right there it runs the 8, which had happened pretty quick there, the 8 nVidia, and you hear it spinning up. So yes, I did not have to modify Claymore at all. It's running all 19 cards, one instance. And there you go. $477 megahash. We do not have the NVIDIAs overclocked right now. I can overclock those to about 22, 23 megahash a piece. It'll bump it up to about 490. But there's all 19 running. Let you guys see that for a second. I'll answer some questions over the sound, hopefully. You can see the power draw. Can't really see that one so well. move it back some. So that's those two, and then we have here, this other meter's not showing. Hold on, let me get it going. The third meter is running about the same. It's about 700 across all three. Reset this meter. The wireless one isn't as good, guys. I'm gonna put this one to bed, and I'm gonna end up getting another one of these kilowatts. That way I can have more of a direct. I have to let this thing like sync, but it's about 700 also. So we're about 750, 750, and then another about 700. So you're looking at 14. That's 1500 plus 700. So you're looking at about 2200 watts. And when I have the nVidia's running at 60 power limit, it runs right around 2000 watts for 19 cards. You can see it running here. It's just crazy seeing that 19 cards just in Claymore in Windows. So it is possible. Alright, we're going to shut that down for just a second. Come back here. I'm going to go back here and got my Stream Deck's on a little delay. Let's see if we can make this a little bigger. Display settings. There's a 50-50 that this will blue screen me trying to do this, and this gives you kind of the stability issues with this. See, it's not really responding very well. It should be firing up that display setting. There's settings. I tell you what, let's do it this way. See, it won't even let me get into the command prompt here.
What's the breakdown of the GPUs you got out there?
Which one?
The breakdown of the GPUs you have on that rig.
The breakdown of that. So it's got 11 of the Sapphire RX 470s, and it's got 8 of the P106 mining cards to make 19 total. Alright, let's just make sure the command launched there.
Lots of Bitcoin questions.
Bitcoin Gold, I'm assuming.
Bitcoin Gold, BitConnect. The GPU mineable aspects of it.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that as of right now, we are not supporting Bitcoin Gold in any capacity. Here, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give this a reboot and see if we can get into it here, and we'll talk this. So right now, as of right now, I'm not going to support Bitcoin Gold in any capacity. We can't even see the code. They haven't released anything. Their site got DDoSed, supposedly. They're pre-mining. You know, once they forked it, they're doing their own mining on it without releasing it. Nobody knows any of the details to it. I mean, that's just shady. So we don't plan to participate in it just because. It just there's just no reason to, right? I mean, if somebody's not going to release the code and showing, you know, hey, here's why. I mean, anybody can say anything about anything they're going to fork, but you know, just the whole approach is not one that we'll back in any capacity. You know, when we said that we would have it as part of the multi-miner, that was predicated on the fact that they would have a GitHub out there that people could go and, you know, make the additions to it, set up pools against it, all that kind of stuff, and you know, not releasing that until you know, a date when they first announced it and saying that they were going to do that, the pressure from the community should have said, okay, yeah, that we're not feeling that. You need to release it, and they still haven't. So right now, I'd say steer clear. If you had it on an exchange that you could sell it for, I mean, all the activity saying that it's going to be sold hard. So the second you get it or people get access to it, they're going to sell it. Because you know that they're mining the crap out of it right now, or there's a group of people that are mining it that have exclusive access to it. And what do you think they're going to do with that? They're going to sell it. So if you're buying it, I'd say buy with caution. It's about as sketchy as it gets. So as of right now, until it's released and people can analyze the fork and make wallets and make it to where we can build it from source, and it can be like most of the other open source coins that we can participate in, we're not going to support it.
They said Coinbase has announced that they will not support Bitcoin Gold due to issues with security and stability.
Well, yeah, so the security side of it, well, stability is because they can't validate the code. They can't validate the fork. They can't validate all that. And anytime you start accessing your private keys to go and get your Bitcoin Gold, you risk the chance of somebody stealing your stuff. Because now you're exposing that private key to a particular wallet, and then just any instance that allows you to get to like we have most of all of our stuff offline, and mine to an offline wallet just because the risk of having it on a computer, right? So I don't want to have to go access that any wallet to go get it. It's just not worth it. I mean, if you're heavily invested and you have tens of thousands of Bitcoin and you want to go and just dump it, I mean, you can take that hedge of risk, I guess, but it's just not worth it. I mean, you can mine it if they had it open sourced and it made sense and it was just another coin to mine. It makes it no really different than any other. It doesn't really have any other use cases to mine it. So short of being able to mine it and hedge on it like most of the other coins that you guys can mine, that we can mine. But none of us can mine it right now, and somebody's mining it right now. That's what's jacked. I mean, is it possible to run 19 using simple mining or EthOS? Not with this board. You have to use 6 nVidia P106 90s or 100s for whatever reason right now with this board. It will not post with more than it will not post more than 11 cards unless it sees P106s there. Then you can go past that. So you have to use the P106s with it. So you would have a max on that of 11. We got this back up. I'm gonna get NVIDIA container. I don't know what that thing's doing. We're going to see if we can get into display settings. What we're trying to do is get this screen bigger for you guys can see some stuff. What we're going to try to do tonight too is, one, I was just showing you that you can do it. I'm going to show you guys how you get all these to work. We're going to do that kind of next if I can get this screen bigger. On the steps to get you to 19, if you own this board and you own P106 cards and you want to try to get 19 running in there, that's the kind of goal of this video tonight. And then as a bonus, what we'll do is yeah, this thing's still trying to get settings loaded. It's not super stable, I mean, but it will run. Like if you just fire up the miner and that's all you're going to use it for, it'll sit there and run. I let that thing run. I made a Twitter post kind of on like I'd call it my lunch break today. I made a Twitter post with it running, and it had ran until right before this video. So it was running about 6.5 hours. Solid, no problems, no reboots, nothing like that. It was running the 19 cards. but it doesn't do much else. Like you start to try to do anything outside of just letting the miner run. I had it blue screen on me a few times. It's still not super stable, but if it's just mining, it seems to be okay. But like right now, I'm trying to get into settings, and all I'm going to try to do is just bump up the graphic settings so we can get into personalize. Like certain Windows functions are just MIA. Like they just don't work. Yeah, I was trying to get into this way. Like it's just not launching that module to get into the display settings. And I think what it is it's having a problem with trying to understand which display to use, even though it's running on the Intel chipset. Let's try it this way. Right when I was saying that, I just thought of this. Maybe we can get to... No, I don't want a custom resolution. I want it to be larger, and I don't want to necessarily change the resolution. I wanted to change the size. But maybe we can go like this. This is just going to change the... This isn't the way to do it. It will work that way, but I'm trying to get it to where I can just enlarge. Windows has a feature in there under display settings to change that. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get into... Yeah, I mean, because if I change this, it's just going to make it... It's going to shorten that. Yeah, it's going to make it not... Oh, you guys can't even see what I'm doing.
You're just making all kinds of sounds over there.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I was in the HD graphics settings, and I was trying to set it here. So I can go into the graphics control panel, but it will not work under the... anytime you bring up settings, it just sets there like this. You know, we could let it sit there in the background and see if it ever renders, but...
There's 2 power supplies on that, right?
2 power supplies, correct. It's got a P2 EVGA Supernova P2 1200 as the primary, running the nVidia cards, the 8 nVidia cards, and most of those risers on that's where I'm getting the 700 watts on one of the kilowatts, and then the rest of the AMD cards are on the 2400 watt China power supply. Yeah, this thing is not wanting to come up. So I think you guys are just going to have to go full screen with the video because it's just no bueno. And if we go into... So let's go through kind of what's done here. So the very first step before you go and update this driver, and the driver we're talking about is the AMD 17102 driver. The very first thing that we had to do is go in and running the device driver uninstaller. You run this guy here. What we're going to do is we're going to run this. We're going to strip this out. So here you have all those drivers here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this, and I'm going to pull out the AMD driver here. We're going to remove it. It's going to blow this whole thing away. We're going to make them all go bye-bye. It's going to reboot it, and it's going to turn off the auto update feature for Windows and make all those as just VGA adapters. We'll let that restart. Oh, And you guys can ask any questions why this stuff's going through this, and we'll go through it together. I just want to make sure if you guys have this board and you have P106 cards, and there you see everything lit up, all 19 cards. You know, this is the way you do it.
Did like a zoom in of the power on the cards?
The zoom in on the power on the cards. All right.
They asked about, don't you need to plug in all the 24 pin connectors to all 3 points to get 19 cards?
No. So, the way this works is your primary power supply. No, this is a mess here. Alright, so your primary power supply, let me get it to right here. Slot A on this board. Don't mind the mess here. There's a lot of wires. Slot A is connected to this 1200 P2. 1200 P2 comes in right here. Slot A. Nothing is in slot B. Nothing is in slot C. All these things are glorified. From what we can tell, they are just glorified daisy chains. They detect the power on A and engage B and C. That's pretty much all they're doing. We do have one of the 4-pin rails plugged into the 3 powers here. We have done it both ways using the thermal readout that we have with the thermal gun that we have. This gets a little warm on the 24 pin when this was not plugged in. So we plugged these in and this no longer gets warm. I don't think it was getting too hot. We don't have a clip to monitor it, but with this plugged in, they weren't getting warm. So this is a single rail, 4 pins. It's across all 3. This just gives supplemental powers to those slots. That's it. Technically, on a lot of the older boards, like the ASRock, Pro BTC, you know, the H110 and the H81 Pro BTC, you could leave those unplugged. But when this particular one, we're plugging them in. So all 19 cards just plugged into the board in that way. And of course the primary power supply is doing the 8-pin CPU connector. So that's all, again, still coming out of this single normal EVGA 1200. The reason why we're using a 1200 is because we wanted enough connections to do all of the nVidia P106. There's 8 of them here. There's 6-pin connectors. There's more than enough on this P2 1200 to do 8 cards plus 8 risers for everything. And actually we even have a couple extra cables available if we wanted to expand that to actually 9 or 10 using the 1200. And then we call it the China PSU. So this has a gigabyte fan on it, but this is not a gigabyte unit. It's just a it's from Panyo, I think it's Panyo Tech. It's just one of the many different Chinese vendors out there that do a double power connector, 110 outlet, into 18 of these little 8-pin connectors. So there's 18 of them that come on these little strands of split out of 3. So it's a single strand that goes into 3 of these. So there's enough for 18 of them. That's 6 of those strands. Now we use this strand here for 3 cards, and then you see one of the strands down here into a splitter. So it's a single 8 into 2 6s that go into the bottom of the riser. So we're using that same power supply, and what we're doing is using these connectors here, which I'll put the link to these in the description. This is an 8-pin, which is a female connector that can come into one of these connectors, and it could be used on a normal power supply. You know, like if I was using the 1200, the single VGA connector here, that's an 8-pin, it would go into this side. And then what that does is give you supplemental power enough for two 8-pins. So it's an 8 to 2 8s, which is okay to use for the risers. I would not recommend using this to power 2 graphics card off of a single 8. Now that's probably going to be bad news. You could do it with like the P106s because they're not doing a lot of power draw. So if you just wanted to use a lower end power supply and then split it to 2 6-pins, these are not pulling that much juice. They're only TDPs around 75 watts. You should be okay with this on a single VGA rail. But if you're using like 580s or something else, do not use one of these on that. Bad things will happen. You don't want to do that. You'll end up burning up the back of your power supply connector back here for your VGA. It'll just end up melting that. You probably won't even do anything to this or the graphics card, but this will go. This will be the thing that this is the least. This is the line of failure right here. But when you're talking one of these power supplies, it's 2400 watts, and it's feeding each of these rails right here roughly about 450 watts. So when we're splitting one of these 8 pins into 2 6s right here, you can split it across 2 risers. That's why one of these things that give you 18 of these of the 8-pin connectors really allow you to get kind of let's just say little unique on using 2 of these, because you can see on one of these rails where you get 3 of these things, I can actually power 6 risers on one of these rails, and it's still more than enough than what this thing's going to need to draw from. You're right there at about 400 watts max. So, and this is rated at 450. So you're still okay to use these things for your rail thing. So you can, when you're planning out like a big build like this, it just gives you a little more options. So that's essentially the power setup. And we're using what, let's see here, 1, and then we got another one here, 2, and then another one over here, 3. So one of those rails are powering 6 of the risers right here. And it's doing the same thing on this side. We have like 6 more cards. We're doing it over there for those risers. So hopefully that was not too dizzy. Hopefully that was okay. But yeah, this is that connector we're talking about. It's a pretty heavily braided. It's actually really thick. This is actually a really heavy duty connector. The cabling on it is pretty thick by comparison. I mean, that's some pretty high gauge cable, and it's this stuff's not cheap. It's not falling out of here or anything. It's really tightly wound. It's thick cabling, but that gives you 2 8s, and these actually slide on. These connectors have kind of like a rail system where they'll slide on to make the 8, not just snap on and be hard. Like once you kind of do that rail, it's on there. It's actually such a pain in the butt to kind of line it up because it's very taut. But once you get it on there, it's on there, and you got 8 and you got 2 8s. So I don't know if that helped or if that was. I'm gonna reposition this camera. It's driving me nuts. I have to keep in and down.
So besides having to add the 6 P106s to get to 19, does that mean it will stably run 13 of the 1070s in either West or North?
13. So it will run. We could not get it to post with more than 13. So yeah, you could run 13 technically with an EthOS with this board. But I mean, at that, it all comes down to a price point then. That are you going to use that, or are you going to use the ASRock board? It all comes down to a price point. This board works perfectly fine. It comes down to it's a price war between this guy and this guy. The Asus B250, you don't have to use 19. The fact that you have to use the P106s kind of kills it for most, because 1, you can't get these. It's not like you're going to go to Micro Center and buy these things. 2, you're having to buy from China vendors that you have no relationship with, and there's not a lot of feedback on them. And then if you have a problem, how do you get it warranted and all that? That's why we really haven't pushed them too hard. When we're testing this stuff out, we're testing it to make sure that it works, and to give you guys, if you guys are going down that road, some kind of baseline. We are not recommending that because there's not a lot of vendors that carry these. So what I would say is, if you're going with the B250, the advantages of it is that you get the meter in the beginning to say if you have a bad riser or not. So you're getting that indicator. That's almost worth its weight in gold. But yeah, you could use it with 13. You could use it with 8. You could, if the board's cheap enough, just use these with 8 cards, and then you have the ability to expand if drivers and software get better over time. But it comes down to a price point at the end of the day. Is the H110 Pro BTC cheaper than this when you're going to only be using it for 13? And then you just got that one dialog screen that this one has. Stability wise, the H110 Pro BTC's rock solid with ETH-OS, with Simple Mining OS. We got it in this rig right here. I started trying to tear some of the cards out of it just to try to add some more for this. But it's been running that with 12, 13 cards. We have a handful of other ones with the 13 card board. It works perfectly fine.
So it will not run 191060s.
It will not run 191060s, no. This board will only run 11 AMD cards in Windows with 8 P106s. This board will not post more than 13 without the P106s. Period.
If it's P106s though, it will run all 19 the same?
It will not run all P106s.
Really?
It will, yeah. It will only do 8 P106s, and it will do 11 of whatever else. Like you see some people's builds that were doing the 19 in Linux. I said this wrong last time. It's that it's NVC, NVI. I don't know. There's NVOS, NVOC. Somebody can correct me. There's a Linux OS distro that works with just NVIDIA, where you see people run 8 of the P106s and then the rest NVIDIA cards. But it requires the P106s. And I mean, it doesn't make sense at all, because the mining cards, if there was some kind of I/O advantage here where you had it needed the lesser requirements from an input-output standpoint, since there's no I/O on these cards, maybe it was an interrupt thing, a memory spacing thing on the BIOS. Well, that was kind of demystified the second I started going with RX 470s, the mining cards, because these are in the same kind of concept when it comes from an I/O space. There is no I/O on this card, but yet I cannot supplement the RX mining cards, AMD cards, for the P106s. It's like the board is looking for that device ID or something. And we haven't got any response from AMD or from Asus on this at all. I mean, we have an open ticket with them. If an Asus rep runs into this because they're like, oh my God, some dude got 19 cards working on our board. If they run into this, or somebody can point to them or has contacts with them, then they can answer why there's the requirement for P106s for this board. That'd be really that'd be an open question, because the RX series, the 470 4 gigs, especially now with the prices coming down. I mean, I've seen these cards for as low as $250. I think they're at $350 on Amazon, which is a little high, but I've seen them as low as $250, $260, and even lower. I mean, some people are kind of doing them on secondary market. After trying them or whatever, and their situation changes, they need to sell them. And I've seen them down as low as $229 a piece. Something happened in the chat? Yeah, I just saw it not connected. See that plug-in as there we go. Restored. That's the XSplit plug-in for you. I would say it's the YouTube in general. But yeah, I mean, the RX is just, I mean, they would be the cheaper alternative, because right now you can't get these stateside, at least in the US, for cheap at all. The P106s, they're charging an arm and a leg for them. I mean, they're $300, $329, something like that to get those. So is the cheapest you can get them from like AliExpress. But you know, if you could do 19 with this, and you could use any card, I mean, I don't understand. Maybe it's a BIOS thing, I don't know. But right now, I mean, if you're just finding this video and you want to do some mining, putting all your eggs in one basket is a risk. If this machine goes down, you lose all of this hash power. Or if you did have three machines going, you lose one, your 2/3 are up while you're trying to troubleshoot the one. There's something to be said for that from a time value equation. You know, from that standpoint, because the realities is this stuff's never 100% up. So, let's see here, let's get back to this thing. Oh, I took focus off this XSplit. One of these days, I'll get growed up and switch to OBS Studio like everybody else in the world, and not pay for XSplit because XSplit loses focus on. And I lost YouTube chat here.
So they're dying to know your thoughts on Big Connect.
I haven't been following it too much. What's everybody calling it a Ponzi? What's the sentiments? I don't mess with BitConnect, guys. I mean, a lot of people have asked me, you know, like they've invested. They're like, why don't you have a referral link? Why aren't you doing anything with it? It's not my thing. I mean, it's not the returns that people are getting on it don't make sense. So, I mean, you just don't get those kind of returns in a traditional market, or even in traditional finance. So, I mean, it's like one of those things that kind of implodes, that if people just keep reinvesting, I mean, it's like the definition of like a pyramid. So, like, I've just kind of steered clear from it. I mean, speculative price, because like one real bad day in that, like a real bad day, like BitConnect price goes down to like $30 because there's just a massive sell-off, because people just wait to the end, and then just whoever has the inside just knows when to dump, and it's all controlled, and then it just happens, and people get murdered. And I just not, you know, anybody that's been following this channel, I'll come back here. Anybody that's been following this channel, I've always tried to steer you guys clear, right. We usually stay out of the like financial advice thing. I will talk on you know, the risk of mining, or the risk of involving you know, putting money into crypto directly and stuff like that. That's why I always played the hedge of teaching people how to get into this space by hedging on equipment. You know, it's the ultimate argument. So when I know Richard Hart and I, whenever we were talking, had our little discussion, part of that challenge of like, well, if you know about crypto, you want to be in crypto, why would you spend $2,000 on this equipment when you just put $2,000 in Bitcoin and you could have made X amount, X factory? True statement, but then you had no hedge on the risk. This is a hedge on the risk. You earn some crypto. If you did it for the long pull, anybody that's done this stuff for the long pull and stayed in it has made pretty decent returns on their equipment plus a amount. Granted, the counter argument is you could have put that kind of money into it and just held it, but that's just not the way people will do this activity in general. I mean, we didn't do it even that way. I mean, I put money into crypto. I was in it real early, and we sold through over time to cover a lot of our costs and hedge. If we would have just kept that money, yeah, I mean, it would have been crazy. You know, there would have been no reason to, you know, do any kind of continue work or any of that kind of stuff, right? But it's just not the way people and humans do hedged risk. You know, they sell what they need to. They're in and out. People are taught to spread that division of income, because you don't want all your eggs in one basket, that kind of stuff. So this kind of stuff allows you to cross that hedge a little, you know, and some people already own some of this equipment. You know, you don't have to go to this scale. This is like crazy. We show the extreme. It's like you watch Top Gear, not because you're ever going to own a Ferrari, but man, you really like to see what that thing does around a track, right? We all watch it. It's engaging. This stuff, we try to make it engaging for you guys. Bring you in, bring you through what's in the realm of possible. But, you know, it's like anything, you know, but I'll have that discussion with you guys, but we'll try to keep it, you know, above border. See some of the picks, brother. So let's get into. I don't know if they can ask more questions. I'm gonna get into installing this driver. So let's get into the device manager now. Anybody that was just catching us, we removed all of the AMD drivers just to show, you know, all the display adapters here with nothing on them for the AMD side. The NVIDIAs we left on there. I mean, I could remove those two and we just have a whole bunch of yellow exclamation points. Now on this, we downloaded the 1710 2 driver. So that's the AMD. I already have it downloaded, so I don't need to re-download it. But it's this driver here. It's 17.10.2. It is due to this statement right here that allows all this to work now. Let me pull this over. I can't see it with the chat. Which allows us to go more than 12 GPUs in Windows. So if I go in through here, I want to go into driver, update, browse, and then I just pointed it to that browser location. It's just the AMD folder. When you unzip it, it takes you to here. It is a very new release driver. I don't know if they're considering this beta. They're not considering it beta, but it is still non-Windows technically certified, but it still works. Part of the reason why it is this right here is part of the reason why whenever you go to here, and maybe I can do it now. Yep, I can do it now because the AMD driver is not dorking it up. This is kind of just a little sidebar lessons learned. When you guys download drivers and you get them in their non-WHQL, they have not went through that kind of rigorous testing suite that Microsoft says if you can go through all this and pass all of our regression tests and certify the results, we'll give you the statement that you are WHQL certified, you are a Windows certified driver set, we'll include you in our big list. When it's a non-one, they can still release drivers and you're downloading them at your own peril type of thing. AMD released them last night and they still haven't went through that. Well, you could see when we downloaded these and had them running earlier, I couldn't even get to the settings tab in Windows, and that's part of the reason why it was non-WHQL. So now that we're here, I'm going to take this up so you guys can actually see some stuff. Let's see if it'll hold that setting. Now that should make it a lot bigger. And again, I'm going to come back here. We're just doing the update driver in this. We're browsing and we're just making sure it's included in this setting here, which is C, AMD. This is the driver that we're going to be using. And just make sure your include subfolders is checked. Next, and now this is going to go through and do all this wonderful stuff. And this is actually, I'll make one comment. This is a lot faster than the typical AMD driver. I don't know what they did, but this thing loads a hell of a lot faster than a typical AMD driver. You're going to see it kind of load, install these drivers, and it's actually going to do it for all of the display adapters instantly. Not go through one by one like the traditional AMD driver. So I want to give at least a semi-props to AMD. I know it's not a totally certified driver yet and there's still bugs with it, but this is a step in the right direction. If from anybody that's installed Windows AMD drivers and then had the nice experience of installing nVidia drivers that are a hell of a lot faster. So this will get through this, and then it's going to set it up for all the drivers real quick. So normally this process you would do for each one of those cards, 11 of them, and that would be like a small event. It should finish up here in a second, and then we'll give it a reboot. These are all modded cards, so you still need to do the device signing with the pixel patcher. So we'll do that too, but wanted to show you, make sure you guys knew on how to do this.
So the basics, nVidia or AMD? I think I've got the answer on that, but I'm not sure yet. I want to hear it one more time.
Well, for what? Just in mining in general? Boom! Right there. You see them all? They're all exclamation point because they need the pixel patcher. We need to reboot. Actually, we can run the pixel patcher right now. For ease of use, nVidia, but as long as the pricing is better, and AMD is a lot more bang for the buck. You would have been right.
I think so, because nVidia is, you said, it's more plug and play. AMD take a little bit more time, but
yeah, bigger bang for the buck. Let's see here. We're gonna go into my download. No, not my downloads. Card mod, pixel patcher. So this is just doing a device driver signing. So we just signed it for all those drivers. And we're going to give it a reboot. Restart. And what that'll do, anybody that's installed AMD drivers, you usually have to do it for each one. It did it for all of them. So whatever they made a change on, this is indicative of all their future drivers. I'm liking where they're going with it. So we're going to let this reboot, and then that should have all of the NVIDIA cards in here. So or all the AMD cards in here. So what we're going to do after this, we're going to fire it up, let it run for the 100 and some odd people that are in here right now, let you guys see all 19 cards in Windows running. And then, if you guys want, what time is it? It's 50. Oh, yeah, well, we have time. We will see if we can get more than 19 on this board. If you guys are interested in that, just drop a comment right now in there, and we'll plug in one of these 1 to 4 adapters and see if we can bust 19 and be like a world's first past 19 cards. I don't know if this will work. I haven't tried yet. But let me know if you guys want me to see that. Now you'll notice this first boot up, it sets here on the no screen. It actually looks like it's not going to start. It sets there for a second. It's that first kind of warm up that takes a little longer. Do it.
Like, who's this AMD you speak of? Do they still make cards?
You're like pushing the limit out here at BBT. All right, so let's get this fired up. Now, one of the things I want to say is, well, let's go check. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Device manager. Let this thing figure its life out. Okay, now we see we have a clean device manager. Bam, there they all are. 19 cards. Windows, they're back. It was pretty seamless. We did a DDU, did a reboot, and reinstalled the driver, did the pixel patcher, rebooted, good to go. All 19 cards in there. So, the big difference here, usually when you have like 2 split GPUs over 8, whatever, in Windows, you usually have to run the actual Claymore into 2 different instances, splitting the GPUs up. Since this creator update and since this AMD driver update, you now no longer need to do that. You can just run the multi-miner by itself, and you can get into, let's just run Ubik 33. We'll do we'll run Ethereum 2. There's the 11, and then you're going to see the 8 fire right after that, all in the initial startup. Boom, there's the 8. There's your total 19 cards, all running. You'll hear its kick on because we're kicking the pants off these power supplies, and there you are, 760. Now we have not again did a overclock on the P106s. This episode isn't about trying to optimize and run these up. We can actually do a modification just by launching the Manly overclocking tool on the P106s and bump them up by about 3 megahertz or 3 megahash each, which will give them about 23 megahash. It'll bring this total up to about 490. We had that on Twitter earlier. I was showing you guys doing that. We can do that. It's not a real big deal. You can see that posted on Twitter. Yeah, we had that running at 490 mega hash. They were kind of full tilt running, but there you go. And we're using about 700, and let's see here. This hasn't updated yet. It's still saying only 74 down the bottom left-hand corner. This will change here in a second.
It
takes that one a second. This driver, We'll fire up ETH here in a second. It is not as good as the blockchain driver. So they did not take the blockchain driver. Whatever they did with the blockchain driver, they did not include it into this one for whatever reason. Maybe there's stability issues or whatever. But that's why I'm doing it with Ubik right now, because you're seeing the performance out of the AMD cards running at about 28.3, 28.5 mega hash. We're getting nVidia cards right now are not overclocked. Those are the base stock settings on those P106s. They get 20 mega hash out of the box. They're Samsung memory. They're like pretty decent 1060s. Running at, most 1060s run 18 to 20 by themselves out of the box. These are running at 20, and overclock they do about 23.5, 24 mega hash juiced up. But here we go. So there is the other. So there's three connectors. So we're at 843. So we're at 100 more, and that's because we haven't tweaked any of the power levels on the P106s at all. So they're running just at 100%. If I drop them down to 60, this will drop down by a little under 100 watts. So we're at 760, 760, and 843. You guys do the math. Somebody can do it real quick. 750, 760, 843. That is the sum total of all of the entire power usage right now on this entire rig right now that is not optimized for power savings right now. This is just pretty much full tilt with the BIOSes on the RX series. So you can still see it running. I let this thing run for 6 hours earlier today. Ran perfectly fine. No issues. We're going to click that down and you'll hear that power supply. That's the power supply spinning up if people want to know that. Let's run ETH on it. And you guys will get to see this compared to the other blockchain driver. So that was Ubik, which is essentially Ethereum blockchain style with only about a 1 gig on the DAG. Here's Ethereum with this driver. There's the 11 RXs. Still spinning up. Still hasn't spun up the nVidias. There's the nVidias coming online. There's everything. Alright, so 24, 25 mega hash. So we're dropping, so that's the results of this driver. It is not the blockchain driver. So if you have this setup, you would be taking a hit if you're doing Ethereum. AMD did not include the blockchain driver advantages. So it's about 10 mega hash, 12 mega hash. Well, I don't know, it's more than that, 30 mega hash drop right now. And that's all coming from the AMD cards. So you can see a optimized AMD card is now only getting about 25 mega hash without the blockchain driver. Roughly same power usage, a little less actually. The AMD cards are not working as hard for whatever reason. 722, and we're at 820, not 861. Or 863, 820. So the number that we're looking at down here at the bottom, guys. You can see that 820. That's that wireless adapter. Before we break this, we could try. I haven't tried any other currencies. I doubt anything else will work. This may blue screen, but I'm good with checking. You can try. I think it'll break because most of the other currencies are either or AMD or nVidia. So we probably have to do some customizations to it to make it work. It would probably blow up on itself because Zcash is only AMD only or nVidia. Yeah, I don't think. I think it'd be a futile test to run anything else. So yeah, so the library's only seeing the 8 threads for the nVidia cards. And that may lock it up. No, it's going. So the P106s are working there. I'm curious if like you can do that, and since it's just page into those, let's try XMR. Yeah, the multi-miner's working.
Do you not have Zen in the multi-miner?
Nope. I said that and then it blew up. Error running mine. So it saw the 11, but it blew up. I would think it's going to have to take some customization. It was probably trying to fire the NVIDIA cards up there too. I could probably knock them down to ports. Zen, yeah, don't we? I don't know if it was, I don't remember. We're working on an update to this, and I get confused on what's there and what's not. 57. It sees the 11 there.
How do you find out what brand of memory your 1070 has?
With one GPU down, well, that's 11. 0, 0. We have a couple GPUs that are not working here. Oh no, they're on. GPU 0 finally popped back up. There is there's Zen. What was that question?
How do you find out what memory type you have in a 1070?
GPU Z. So there's that. Let's try to fire up the multi-miner, another instance of it. Oh. Well, we pissed that off launching the multi-miner again. Let's try. Do I have GPU Z on here? I think I did. Right when they said GPU Z, I just realized I don't think I've ever opened it up after having 19 on here. I don't even know if this will open, guys. Let's see.
Multi-miners on the website, right?
If you Google, yeah, multi-miners on the website, on the bottom of bitsbetrippin.com, it'll take you to Steam It post where we have it linked to download. And then you can pull it down there. You may get a false positive on, and you might have to do a Control-J and accept the file. It gets a false positive off the XMR miner that's included with the multi-miner for the CPU miner. We're trying to ensure that we're not getting false positives on 5.6 release. Anticipate 5.6 just after the 1st of November. People are wanting to know when that's coming. While we're not mining Bitcoin Gold personally, if they do release the code for it, and we see that we can compile it, we'll include it in there, but it's just going to be one of those things that we don't recommend it. It's just that I want to make sure that if you guys are out there in this community mining it, that you'll have at least a reputable source from us of a compiled version that we'll include with it to make sure that it works. That is predicated on if that they release it and then it doesn't check out to be like total bullshit. So if it's just BS and they were just gaming the entire system to get the futures prices up to sit there and mine it and dump it, and then never release it and then just go away into the ether after November 1st, and it was just a big game. Hopefully somebody runs them down. Oh my God, this came up. And throws them in jail for defrauding everybody. Well, I guess they're really not defrauding anybody besides unregulated buyers that are speculating the price up. But I mean, still. So it actually came up. Well, I guess if Device Manager fires, this technically could too. So there's all the cards in here. And this is where you'd find your memory type at right here in GPU-Z. It says right here, like for this RX 470 here, it's DDR5 LPDA. I just selected another one that's taking its sweet time to load. So you can see the latency. Oh, and that one that I checked, it has Samsung in it. So we do have split memory in these two GPU settings here. Or these two GPU types of these RX cards are both LPDA and Samsung. I have a mix of both of them. Alright, so we gave you guys a little bit of performance on them. Let's do another DDU real quick.
Plugging in more cards.
That's what I'm doing. Who's asking that?
I am.
Oh, I hear you. Atta girl, keep me on target. We are going to launch DDU and remove. I don't want any drivers loaded when I'm loading these other cards. So, and I'll explain why after I do it here. Let's see, card mod, device driver uninstall, device driver uninstall. I want to pull all the AMD cards off this thing from a driver standpoint. So we're just doing this again because I want to have a fresh setup when I see it. Try Nice Hash. I don't even think Nice Hash is loaded on here. When we try to add more cards, if Nice Hash works, we'll give it a whirl. If it doesn't work and we just blew this up, and I will try the Nice Hash and post it on our Twitter page. So just follow us on Twitter. Shameless plug to get you onto Twitter, even if it's just one account, a fake account that you're just following us on. Shameless plug for that. Alright, so that's going to restart. And once that shuts down, I'm going to power everything down. Okay, that's down, power down, power down. That is actually the power supply dumping all this juice out of the capacitors. It does a quick spin up of the fans to make sure everything's cool. It idles up. It idles down to a slower fan speed to just let the rest of the capacitors dump out, and then it'll power off, which it just did. And now it's quiet. It's quiet in here. Alright, so we're going to use the 4 splitter. We did this in a few episodes ago. We'll include this in our description. We have not included it yet. And there is no real rhyme or reason of where we're going to plug this into right now. We'll try it in a couple different areas. If it doesn't work, we're just going to try in slot C, first slot over, all the way over.
Do you think the new Windows update will work for 12 nVidia cards?
I have seen some posts of people saying that the current nVidia driver supports more than 8 with the new Windows out of the box. I've seen somebody post that they had 13 1080 Ti's loaded in Windows, but I just saw the picture of Device Manager, and what I would say is just be careful with that. because I was able to get 13 nVidia cards. If you look at some of our older videos about 2 months ago, I was able to get Windows to load 13 1080 Ti's after the 1703 update, which was around just May. But that did not, anytime you try to do anything in Windows at all, even practically right click, it would just blue screen and give you the nVidia device driver sys file crashing error. So you can get them loaded. I just haven't seen anybody post any pictures with it showing 13 running in Windows. But I mean, technically we could try that. Not tonight, but we could try it. We'll see here. So we're gonna grab this for one. Actually, I don't need that one. Do I have one extra? I don't think I did there. Yes, I did. We're getting a little jiggy with this here. This is like some skunk work stuff here. Got an extra 6-pin that's coming off one of the graphics card drivers, or rails, to power that board, because I want this to power 2 cards, because it's going to power the card that I just plugged in, and make sure that that works. And then I'm going to plug in, let's grab 2 more cards. We should have the power overhead for this activity. We were only at 850 and 750 and 750. I'm going to take 2 of these. We're going to grab one of these. I could get this riser plugged. One riser and that. I'm just going to plug this right here. Okay, so we're going to go 20 and just see if we can break. Do we go 20 or 21? Everybody that's a gambler is going to say 21, right? It's just a thing. If we're going, let's go big. 21. Nobody stops at 20. Alright? If we're going to gamble, we're going for 21. No loose screws. Another riser. I am a hot mess. There is stuff everywhere. When you start dealing with this many cards and you really haven't built a rig for them, because we were really sketchy on getting a rig for these until we knew everything would function.
I already said that.
What's that?
I said if this was a permanent rig, it would have its own fancy new rig case, but it hasn't proven to be worth that much effort yet.
Yeah, we had a pretty elaborate design for this. This is super sketchy.
Like dominoes, you're going to sneeze on it and it's all going to fall down.
No, I'm going to try not to. We're actually going to make them a little more secure here in a second. I'm doing exactly what I said not to do, by the way, too. But for just a second, we'll do this. I just want to see if it's possible, and if so, then we're shutting it down. I would not recommend this. Do not try this at home with this little double connector. I'm only doing this because of the short amount of time that we have that I want to keep this video going on for, and for the practicality purposes of just working on the fly here. We kind of thought about this after 19 were working. I was thinking, what would be better? Let's do something that I don't think anybody thinks it can happen. And go with adding more. All right, so this, we need a single 8-pin. Oh, there's totally one right here. Both got, yep, they do. There's got to be some kind of weird intonation that's going to happen on this. Famous last words, right? Can I use the panel PSU to power 7 risers and 7 RX5? Yes. Absolutely. You can use, there's 18 connectors. So you could spread that across, you could actually have 18 separate connections. The RX 580s would all each have 1. So that would be 7, and then 7's 14. You'd still have more, you'd have more than enough left. And you'd use a small, like 450 just to power the motherboard and the 8-pin. All right, let's fire this up. I don't think anything's touching anything else. And see, let's go to this screen and see if it lights up. Oh, we gotta get power here. Get power here. Now there could be like, this could be like sparks. I'll tell you what, just in case if we have an explosion of some sort, at least it'll be on full screen. Nothing's touching. All right. No crazy fire. It's posting. Okay, that is not one that is. That is not one that is. We'll have to trace that one out. That's not one that I touched. Let's do a count. We're down 1. We're plus 2. That's 20. So I'm gonna let it boot. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So one of the P106s is down. Interesting.
You've got stuff on top of it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it's super. Well, yeah, I might have dorked one of them. This one's not lit. Why is this one not lit? Let's shut it back down. It might be grounding. Shut down. Well, the interesting point here is it was probably doing a little bit of that intonation that I was talking about, where if you have two electrical devices that are right next to each other, they'll interact. Sometimes not directly, so it'll be like kind of like an arc. Most of the time that ends up in like some kind of spark or fire. In this particular case, it hasn't, which is good. We're going to try this again. I moved it off that one. Let's make sure everything lights up. Okay, everything's lit. This might work, folks. This might be an internet first. Everything's green. That's the advantage of this board. If you can get this board for the same price and you're only going to use 6 cards, it's worth it just for that one reason. Quickly allowed us to assess it. I'm going to have to change the title of this video, and we're going to have to put a big timestamp in it if this works. And I have like 2 more of these riser cards.
Question about pools right now. If you are in the U.S. and you're using an EU pool, would switching to a U.S. pool increase your hash rate?
No, but it would give you probably less Stell shares. I think we have... Alright, we have the 8 nVidia. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we got +1. That's still 20. Let's try... And it might be a bad riser that I mean, I just pulled this riser out of a box. One of these risers might be bad. So let's go ahead and let's load the driver. This is still accomplishing exactly what I want to do. We can successfully at least say that we're posting with more than 19 on this using an expander card. This is why I like doing this stuff live. You guys get to walk through with me. We get to do the discovery together. What fun is this not if I was just on the side doing this and just sending you tweets? P106 100s would not, well, they wouldn't work before we tried this board before. Anything over, anything of the same cards would not work. If there is a Chinese vendor watching this video, you are more than okay to send us 19 P106s, and we will test it for the internets. You will get essentially free advertisement, and we will even send the cards back to you. Let's do the pixel patcher. I'm doing this, even though we were down 1 here and we have this whole setup going the way it is, I wanted to at least see which one was not working, because if it's one or the other here, I can quickly switch out the riser and check. Now this is that delay that we usually get after we put the driver in. Windows delays. You gotta have patience with this, because it'll sit there and it'll look like it's not working. And what I usually tell people is watch if you got a kilowatt, it's like the best $20 you'll ever spend. You can use it more than your mining. You know, you use that thing on, like, when you plug it in, you can have like a whole field day for a week and just go around with a notepad and plug that thing into lamps, plug it into, you know, your TV, your radio, your iPod charger, whatever. Your toaster oven. Yeah, toaster oven's about 1,300 watts. Plug it into things. See what things use energy. See how long they use energy for. It'll actually make you super conscious of how much. I know this seems super ironic telling you guys this kind of stuff, considering we sit there and use energy to convert cryptocurrency. However, it makes you super energy conscious of like what things use energy. So the kilowatt's cool. But the point of that is that when it was getting you through this little black screen here, is that the computer was working. It was doing things. I could tell that through the kilowatt. It was spinning up to 81. 89, 90 watts, dropping back down to 50. The processor's using juice. I can see that it's doing something. It's just not idling. It's not waiting. You can tell a lot by how much energy something's using, that it's actually doing something. Holy crap, Windows came up. Survey says... Crap, was that copyright? I think it's that copyright for some old game show. No exclamation points. That sure looks like more than 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, we're at 12. You know what? That driver said it only supports 12. We would have put 13 in here. Interesting. Maybe that's the problem. Do we have anything in unknown? No. Maybe this is a godsend that it's not working, because we actually put it over what the AMD driver said. But maybe the riser's not working. Circumstantially, we're getting 12. Maybe I'm reading into this too much, but let's try some Ubik 33 representing. Ubik for those long holds. Do we see 12? Do we see a blue screen? Oh, the pause is killing me. You can do it. There's 12. Come on, give me the 8. Give me the 8, and then we're hitting world first. 20 cards. Holy crap. We did it, folks. 20 cards. Come on, baby, spin up. There's the nVidia's coming online. 505. You better smash that like button. World first, 20 cards, 1 rig. We're at 8. We're at 830 there. We're at 8. We're at about 100 watts. That's 810, 817. The other power kilowatt hasn't switched. $20 cards. I'm just letting it run for a second, guys. I don't know. We're going to see. And actually, this one is not spinning right here. So I got the one right here. There's 2. The one to the left here isn't spinning fans. So this one is not rolling. That's the one that's not working. Oh my God, I just realized why it's not working, folks. Rookie mistake. I didn't have the riser power plugged into this one. And that's why the card's not working. And that's why the card's not working. Hey, it's an iterative process. There's failure, you learn from it, you move on, you proceed. You learn, you get better. That's how things work in life.
But it's the same error.
It's always the same error. There's like 8 variables, and you can dork any one of them up at any point in time in this. 505 rocking on Ubik.
How do you plug it in?
Which one? Yeah, I'm gonna plug it in. I'll plug it in. Well, so I mean, the AMD driver. This was what they call Carter luck sometimes. Like the BBT fam and everybody calls. Sometimes I just have this luck. So like if I plug the 13th in and it blue screens and it doesn't work because the AMD driver says only it supports 12. You know, this kind of put us on this path that allowed 12 to be working to allow us to see this. If I plug the 13th in and it blue screens, we could pretty much predicate it on the fact that the AMD driver doesn't support more than that. We would have never seen that if I wouldn't have dorked that up. So I'm glad that the world has put us on this path that allowed this to succeed. So see if we have an impending failure after I shut this down. Power looks like it's holding. I'm going to bring in the other, here's the other kilowatt here. 857. It's down there in the bottom left hand corner. So there's your 3. So you got 864, 857, and 834 on your power. So if somebody wants to do the math on that, 821, 863, and 857 is your 3 power situations. Now this would go a little faster. So if we 8 times 3, another 18, we would be at right over 523, 524 if I was to overclock the nVidia cards right now. So if we were running full tilt on the AMD card, or the nVidia cards rather, and we ran a little more aggressive overclock on the RX card, we can get these actually at about 29.5. We'd be right at about 530 mega hash with this rig, but we'd be using about another 150 watts because we'd be not offsetting the power usage on the nVidia savings by dropping it to 60 power limit. We would actually increase the power usage on the RX cards to get to 29.5, but we'd be running at about 530, and you're looking at 1800 watts, about 2600 watts, and we have available 3600 watts of power here. So and it's still running.
Solutions is very nervous if you keep holding that water bottle over the rig.
Yeah, you know what? They're probably super right, because I could, like, especially with me like squeezing this and it could bust it open. It's off to the side, folks. I'm getting direct tweets right now. People must have been tweeting this or something.
They asked you to tweet it out. Somebody did.
All right. Let's check. All right, so let's shut it down. We'll add the 21st card since we already have it kind of in the mix here. Shut down. Let's see here. Do I have another expander? Power. I do. Plug and play device. Shut down. All right, so we do have another one of these guys here. This is my last one that I think I have available. So let me think here how we're going to do this. We can do. Okay, I got it. We'll let the juice come out of this real quick. Can we do 21? We'll be breaking the AMD driver supposed limit if we do that. I'm gonna give that some juice there if it works. We're going to pull one off the main rail here. This is like total skunkworks. So if we were actually doing this and going to build like a crazy 21 card rig, which could totally happen if this works, we would do it from a standpoint of we would set the power up correctly. We'd probably go triple power supplies and not use this. Not because it doesn't work, but we would want to load the balance right, and mainly because the way you would have to set up 21 cards, we kind of have a flat wall, kind of a pyramid or a box style multiple rail setup. We'd have to set the power supplies in such a way to reach everything. This is kind of just in such a spread that makes it look like a mess, but it's more of a function versus the look. Because it's got to be able to hold this many cards and still plug into this board, and we're not using super long extensions here. All right, so everything is plugged in. Expansion. We're still under the the total power draw requirements of all the power units here. That's plugged in. Make sure all the cards are good. check, check, check. That's plugged in. That's got juice. That's got juice. This is good connector. Okay, so let's give this here, pre-juice. Fans are spinning there. Go back to this. It's freaking posting. That's a good sign. Now let's see if it gets into Windows. We're all green there. I mean, if AMD's putting 12 on their driver, I would assume that they're going to lock it at 12. If that's a hard or a soft limit, or if that's just a tested limit, but we're aimed to, as one wise man said, we aim to misbehave. Bonus points for anybody that knows where that quote came from. Show your real true dorkdom. Call it out, Miss BBT. Whoever calls out that. We got our long pause for Windows like normal. Anybody call it out yet?
Yes, 2-ton hasher got it.
2-ton hasher's got it. Firefly. Oh, we got Windows. We aim to we aim to misbehave.
Yeah.
All right, he goes, I think I aim to misbehave. The captain of Firefly. If you haven't seen Firefly, go do yourself a favor. Go find it on some, probably on Netflix or something, and watch that stuff. You will love your life. It was really good. It has a movie that you can
watch the movie after
the series, but it's worth your time. It's really good. Excellent chemistry between characters. Should have never got canceled. Oh, we got black screen. Come on, baby, you can do it. Figure your business.
Who's Abraham Lincoln?
Abraham Lincoln. This may require a DDU. It's kind of doing the normal business that, and you can see why I normally would go in and do a DDU on this. It's because it's probably going to go do its traditional AMD. Oh my God, where am I at in life? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I see 13 cards in there. Yeah, shiny.
What? Your chair almost tipped over. Lean back too far.
I'm going to give this another pixel patcher just to see if we can cheat it. I'm going to reboot because I think that's probably what it is. I'm going to restart.
They said that's your next t-shirt quote. This may require a DDU.
Absolutely. We'll take those shirt suggestions. We gotta move through our current supply first before I order more though. I've ordered probably a couple $1,000s worth of shirts for you guys, so this is definitely a. I mean, we love the donations and stuff that you guys send through, and the the super chats and all that stuff. But we definitely run it. If this was a business, we'd be way, 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 way in the red from actually the YouTube side of it. We do not sell advertisement or anything. That's why you guys don't see me like having an advertisement in front of any of the videos or anything like that. We haven't went down that road. We're not at that scale. This YouTube channel only has like 23,000 subscribers. We're super niche. However, I will be probably doing a video pretty soon. We're letting this reboot. I'll go to this screen. I will be doing a video. Anybody that watches Jay's 2 Cents and Barnacles. Barnacles was down. They're YouTube reviewers, hardware, mostly graphics cards, stuff like that. GPUs, gaming, hardware, stuff like that. Barnacles on the chat with Jay's 2 Cents. They were down at TwitchCon, and he had mentioned that they'd like to do, or at least Barnacles, at least initially, will do a collab video. I think that'd be good for the channel. That'd be good for the exposure. He has gotten some mining hardware that he got from Puget Systems, and I think it'd be a good collab video to help grow the channel too. You just click on that, right click, and then just hit the drop down there for the. I don't know why it does that, and then that comes back. And then I'm gonna switch sources or switch scenes. Should make sure. There we go. Now, if we do that. That kind of collab, I think it'll be good for the channel and the exposure to the community. All right, let's look and see. We did a reboot here. Any exclamation points? If there's exclamation points, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do a DDU. But oh my goodness. There's no exclamation points. Oh, it's the weight of death. Is it going to post? Oh my god, it says 13. Can it do 8? Can it do the nVidia 8s? We're breaking all kinds of rules here. Can it do it? Oh, is it going to do it? Blackjack is right. 534. $21. Lucky 21. Oh, we are pushing this. Pushing our luck tonight. $534. We need some party poppers. Well, I mean, there's one more spot on this. I just don't know if I have enough splitters and stuff. It's going to take a different kind of setup. We're definitely putting the strain on the 2400 watt power supply. It sounds like it's about to take off. I think I'm really pushing. I mean, so this thing's rated at 2400 China power. Not to dig on my Chinese brethren here, the friends and folks that I know. But you know, it's kind of like saying, you know, your Civic does, you know, the quarter mile in 10 seconds. Sure it does, buddy. Right after it passes 13 seconds, it goes on for another mile. You know, so 2400, I mean, we're pushing at least right now to it, almost 2,000 watts to a 2400 rated.
First, like a kitten. A lot more than that.
His circuit board's gonna blow. Rockstar stable. So far.
It would not work with 1070s instead of the mining cards.
No, it needs mining cards for at least 8 of them. There you go. $2.10 for the 21, world's first. It's got to be. I mean, I don't think anybody else is
hot?
putting off heat though. You know what? That's a good question. Let me get the thermometer. Let's bring it up. I tell you what, I'm gonna give you guys a better view here. Let me switch to this. We can do this together. You see about let me zoom.
How much memory do you have on that board?
You can see the 70 watts. Let me go this way with it. 116 surface temperature of the that's what I call the predator view. It's too close. $140. Yeah, I can take a snap of it. I mean, it's 82. Let me look at the back. That's 105 in the back. Maybe I can switch it to this camera. Oh, it's getting a hell of a glare.
How much memory do you have on that board?
That's out the back. Oh my god, I'm all backwards.
Is the fan really that loud?
Oh, it's stupid loud. Oh, they're trying to turn it, but the camera's turning, sorry. That's inside the vents. It's definitely red. I mean, so this is a thermal imaging, so it's not like beat red hot. It's only 110. So to give you an idea, God, the glare on that is. So the back of the card, since those are not backplated, 168 Fahrenheit. VRMs are at 172. Can't really, you guys can't see a good picture of that, but what I'll do is I'll take a picture of this, I'll save it, and I'll post it on Twitter. to give you guys a good indicator of what these things are, you know, the output of them. It's still rolling. Stable as hell.
So I'll ask again, you're too excited to be hearing. How much memory do you have on that board?
On this board, 8 gig. This so I got 8 gig, and if you look here, we had 4 gig on it. But after the update, and after the driver update, I noticed that it was paging a little more space than normal in memory. And you can see right now it's running at 3.8 gig. And if we come over here to the processes, it's using more memory now that there's that much. I mean, look at that. We're using that service, that command prompt right now is using 1.3 gigs of RAM. 48% of the memory is being used up by this process. So I would say, you know, for the longest time we've always said you only need 4 gigs of RAM, but I think right now you're needing at least 8. Otherwise, I think this thing's going to crawl to a halt, or you may get some other issues, just because we can see, you know, we're using 50% of the RAM, right? I mean, we're using 1.3 gig right there. Sort by the GPU usage. So you can see it jumping all over right there. It's running, guys. I don't without I don't think if I had one more splitter we could probably do another one, but I don't have one.
So that motherboard is the new honey badger.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not the it is hey, I mean, while we're here, before we wrap this up, oh, listen to that thing spin down. Is let's see it run a couple other things, I guess. All right, before we shut it down tonight.
What PCI splitter are you using?
We'll do Zencoin. We'll link it. It's an 8 to 2 8s splitter.
And those are not overclocked as of right now?
The GPUs on the RXs have a slight overclock. Well, there's 13. It's seeing the 13 there. It takes it a second to spin all these up. Now this is only going to do the AMD cards. Again, you're looking at ETH and Claymore being able to support, you know, out of the box. I don't think he probably even knew that it could do that. I think essentially it's just if it can handle the threads, it throws it at it. It's just most of the time the OS layer and the driver layer couldn't do it. That still hasn't spun up to all the available GPUs there. Still missing GPU 3 and GPU 9 and GPU 6.
Do you know of any companies that can fix GPUs? If you've got it was damaged after shipping and it probably would not be covered in an RMA.
If it was damaged in shipping. Holy cow, look at that command process. $4 gigs for Zencash. 71% CPU usage. Just still shared it. And it's still not spinning a couple of the cards up, so I think there's a thread limit. And it might be just a thread limit on the CPU and the memory that we have in there. It's an interesting set of circumstances the way Windows is handling the memory management now with all these GPUs. Trying Feathercoin for shits and giggles.
So we never finished the question.
What's that?
Is there anywhere you can get GPU service if it doesn't qualify for an RMA from the damage?
What kind of service? Just like the frame, the hardware, or the?
It didn't say it was damaged during shipping.
Well, as long as the PCB still works, you can take the entire housing and all that off and put a different heatsink fan combo on it. There's aftermarket heatsink fan combos that would probably be cheaper and just have you do it real easily. I mean, essentially, there's just four screws on the back of the GPU that you unscrew. Sometimes 5 or 6, depending on the harness that it's on, that has on it. You unscrew all those things. And dismount the entire housing off, then that makes the card bare, like this. If you were to strip everything off, look how thin that is. That's a GPU. This is a 290X. So we used to have a water cooler on this. That's the GPU, the main GPU. And then you got the memory that says around it, and you got your VRMs, which are voltage regulation modules, and you got your power connector there. But if you were to take that off, and this actually had a bad fan on it, we ended up putting a water cooler on it. This still works, but I've just been waiting for a pretty decent deal on a water cooler or something. I'll throw it on there for old steaks. But you can just pop all those screws off, take that housing off, and then just replace it. If the board's actually broke, you're done, dude. Just
the artifacts.
If it artifacts. If it artifacts,
what kind of damage? He said artifacts.
You could bake it maybe. Just look up baking, GPU baking. It's you'll put it in an oven at a certain temperature, at a very low.
That sounds scary.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Just don't have it. Just follow the tutorials out there, and you'll actually reset the silicone, because most of the time it's just the artifacting is created from microfractures. You can kind of archaically draconian style bake it and reset the silicone in it, or the solder right, and sometimes you can fix those microfractures that way. It fixes it sometimes, but that's kind of a last-ditch effort. Let's go back to this real quick, and then we'll wrap up this episode. I mean, 21, guys, that's just ridiculous. If you guys don't start tweeting and sending this thing out everywhere, you guys are my army. Go out there and share this to the world. This is crazy talk. Let's try some ETH for shits and giggles.
He said he's got 26 cards, brand new, XFX RX 580 8 gigs. And all of them are messed up?
Can you buy them second hand? Somebody already nuked them? And if they're doing that, I would find the original BIOS for them, and I would reflash all of them, because they may have put bad timings on them, and it's just artifacting from the timings. There's the ETH without the blockchain driver on 21 cards. I'm gonna have to retitle this. 21 cards. One motherboard.
They want you to tweet it so they can all retweet it.
I will tweet it right after this. If you guys can, you know what, I'm going to do it right now. You guys can retweet it right now. We'll go for no more than 15 more minutes, if not less, 5 minutes, something like that. Let's see here. Just hit 21.
Bought 60 cards overseas, the shipping was bad, so 28 of them of the 60 are just not working right.
Alright, tagged a whole bunch of the other reviewers out there. Windows developers, because you got to give them a little bit of credit on this, because the update allows for this. I'm going to get Ubik back there, because Ubik's giving us the best results right now from a mining standpoint. We'll let that spin back up. We'll let that roll for a second. It just got tweeted. If you guys can retweet it, it'd be money. Tweet Army. The twits. No. That's horrible. It's not twits. The tweeters. The 2 notifications.
Ethereum Classic, do you mine it? What do you think?
We might ETH Classic every once in a while. We kind of hedge the bet on them, guys. So we'll mine Ubik, we'll mine Zcash with the nVidia cards, Zencoin, a little bit of Expanse. We kind of just hedge a little across a lot of all the different currencies. I like having a little bit of all of them. But yeah, I'm reading all the Twitter feed. Yeah, since we're getting a few. Awesome, guys. Well, you guys got any more questions? We'll try to get them answered. We're gonna play around with this now. I got to look about how we can maybe get a little different setup here and see how far. We got a couple more of these riser cards. I need to probably add another PSU in this mix. But it looks like it's going to be a pretty fun weekend trying to see what we can actually achieve with this. Now that everybody, this is kind of like we popped the top off this. I have no doubt we're going to now see a lot of folks trying to see what they can get out of this. You know, now that crazy expansion card that BioStar was putting out doesn't look too crazy. Where they were thinking that they could get 192 GPUs. I mean, technically, if this thing just keeps scaling the way it is, I mean, we have effectively just proven AMD's driver can support more than 12. No kidding. In Windows, we got 13 working right now. The big question is, and we'll have to pull one of the other machines out of what I'd call production right now and see if regular RX 580s, 570s work. We have 20 of the power colors. That way they're the same card. I'm going to see if we can get more than the 13 on something like the ASRock H110 Pro BTC board, because that thing wouldn't even post sometimes. So right now, this looks like it's the only board that's posting with more, and it might be the bridge point that we need to take this thing to even further heights. More, not for the, this is what you should do, more than this is what it can do. I just want to make sure I had that little statement in there. Yeah. What's the question? Oh, we got a super chat.
So that was about the week. RX 480 for the modded, they refused to go over 700 megahertz on the floor.
No, megahertz. What is it? 700 megahertz?
Yeah, on the floor, unless I increase the power limit to 40%. When they go around 1100 megahertz and work at 30 mega hash per second. That's what I was saying in the book.
Yeah, I'll look at it. You're telling me. I'm gonna. Let's try. I just thought of something. We did not try. We didn't try any dual mining. I'm playing with my my beard. Sorry. It's like curling down in my lips. Let's see here. 30. Now this could send it over. This could make the thing go boom. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. They refuse to for unless they increase power limit go around 1100 works at 30 megahertz. Yeah, sometimes you need to add more power limit. It is a thing. The cards will. Let me scroll up. You guys can always drop us a message. Holy crap! It's dual mining. We could blow it. $12,000 to cred. I'm curious of how much, oh, memory and CPU's not too bad still.
Another super chat.
Memory and OC settings do not apply for me in Windows 10 AMD RX cards unless I'm using a dummy plug of the card. How come is there a workaround? Dummy plug. Yeah, you shouldn't have to use a dummy plug. I would use the pixel patcher. I would do a DDU, remove everything, come back in with the latest AMD driver, do another pixel patch, reboot, and then see if that works without the dummy adapter.
With the different memory types make the cards
Oh, it's getting warm now. What's up?
that partition, would different memory types make the same cards use different powers?
I'm trying to read what you're asking.
Sometimes because a card says some cards only use 100 watts versus the rest of these using 160. What would make the same card use different wattages?
It really depends. I mean, it could be the timings on the. Maybe you had a card that was already modified. Maybe it's not getting enough power. Is it the same hash rate? This thing's getting 12,000 to cred and 450 mega hash on the other. And have we done any pluses or minuses here? Let's do. That's 500 in that. Let's give her the beans. Almost 20,000 to cred. Now the 364 to cred is on the mining cards that are the nVidia's. The 1200s are the RX cards. I mean, this is just crazy.
Sounds like you're sitting in the back of an airplane.
Yeah, this sounds like I'm on like a Southwest flight heading to somewhere, and I'm literally in the back of the plane. I hear the. I usually fall asleep at about that time. It is definitely okay. So we got this one goes to. So the primary power supply 1200 is right here. That is the 864. The 1228 and 1109. So the 1109, I'm getting 1109 and 1238. That is coming off of this China power supply, folks. And it is hot. It is definitely getting warm. To the touch. So we are putting 2300. We are maxing this thing out. We are at 2400 watts almost on this power supply. I am running the meter on it right now. We are at 125 watts. Or 125, so it was 105. It was about 105 before, now it's 100. So we've increased 20 Fahrenheit in temperature on this. It's running at 2200.
What kind of circuit are you running now?
It's on 3 separate 20 amp connections. We have 3 separate 20 amps that this is coming from. So that was dual mining. I mean, tonight's been crazy. Totally crazy. So I don't even know what to say. Like 21 cards. We got to test the limitations of and the lack of limitations. Now the long-term test might be a different story. Of the China power supply, hitting 2200 watts and holding it, 2300 watts. The 4 adapter, using 2 extra cards. We do have an extra slot there. We do have 2 more adapters like this here too. It's more of a, we got to figure out a different situation here. Maybe add a rig or 2 and get triple tiers or something, and maybe revisit this with like, who knows, 30 cards maybe, I don't know. Just to see if it's possible, but 21 tonight I think is really, hopefully have given you guys not only some entertainment, but we got to go on this journey together. Will this work without mining cards? No, it requires the P106 cards. The rest of them should be able to use any AMD card, at least in Windows now. But that's a good test. We're going to try that because this right now is all mining cards. The next test that we would logically do on this is I'm going to pull the list of RX. We have 20 RX 570s, the power colors, pulling those over, and then trying this in a different video with those 20, and maybe those 20 plus these 8 might be a video if we can get between the expanders and everything 28, and you know, see if we can raise this by 7.
What's your final count on cards here? Types?
Final count on card are 13 RX 474 gigs. We have them in the description below. They're the RX mining cards. They get about 28 with the BIOS that we have. We've posted that BIOS on another video. with the mining driver, they get that. They get about 25 if you're not using the mining driver for at least the Ether. Ubik they get full on, and then these are the P106. The cards that are kind of glowing green right here are the P106 90 3 gigs from Manly. You can use any of the P106 colorful. There's a few different companies that make them. The 100s or the 90s. The 90s are usually 3 gigs. The 100s are usually 6 gig. Does anyone in here have 3 extra 20 amp? So we did a whole other video where we show you guys kind of our power setup just down here in the studio area, where we ran essentially like 6 or 7 extra 20 amps, and then we have a 30 amp that's plugged into a 5700 watt 30 amp power bar. Call Guinness Book World Records. We might have a record here. You know, usually have to do that twice. We showed a couple times that we did it more than twice. But yeah, that might be a thing.
What CPU?
This is a one last view of that. I'll show you guys the CPU.
Carter said he unplugged his stove so he could get the 220 volt.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. Just use a microwave.
No. Well, yeah, in the kitchen, those are usually on separate circuits, aren't they?
Yeah. Wow, the 220 is going to be on its own circuit. So it's a i3 7350K. I'd almost say if you're going to go crazy like this, you're probably going to want at least that as your baseline. Because we were seeing some of that mining showing almost 70% CPU thread. I like using this one in all of our test rigs because it's a cheap CPU. It's like less than 150 bucks, and it gives you 4.2 gigahertz, pretty sustained, which is nice to have that speed increase and the extra threads, the 4 threads, versus the 2 threads at like 3 gigahertz. And then this has got 8 gigs of memory in it. Alright guys, well that was fun. I wasn't really planning on doing a 2-hour video, but you know, this is, I've tried to dial them back to like 1 hour, but this was crazy and fun, and I had a good time. Please like, subscribe, share, water cool it with your friends. Hopefully this one gets a little viral. That helps our channel out. Check us out at bitsbetrippin.com. We do have some shirts and stuff out there. I'm actually not repping any of the shirts. I was actually repping Hawkins Middle School AV Club for anybody that watches Stranger Things. It's about to go
Drops on Friday.
Drops on Friday. We like Stranger Things. This is a shirt from that kind of thing, which is a anybody that's living under a rock. It's a Netflix video thing. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, spread the love. Let's see what we can do. Hopefully you guys got some information out of this one. We'll drop into Discord and check it out. It's on bitsbetrippin.com. Hit Discord. See you guys.